Today at ET Infra, we have a very special guest, none other than CEO of Vistara, Mr. Vinod Kannan. And when we talk about Vistara, and it's known all over India that when it comes to wide-body operations, that is the premier airline out here in India. Mr. Kannan, really appreciate you, taking your time out and coming out here for ET Infra. To begin with, we are almost now towards the recovery phase of the pandemic. How is it that the airline, your airline, and the rest of the industry is now sort of looking ahead, and what are the sort of, although we have overcome the challenges, are there new sort of headwinds on the horizon?
Thank you. Firstly, thanks Dev, thanks to you and ET Infra for having me, and thanks for coming down. I think the story I will split into two parts. One is for Vistara and one of course is for the Indian market as a whole. So with Vistara specifically, even through the pandemic, we have always been expanding. We have been taking delivery of aircraft. We started the pandemic in 2020 with 40 aircraft. We are now at 53. So over the last 2.5 years, we have still added capacity. And therefore, where we sit today in terms of number of flights or number of frequencies, we are almost 25% more compared to pre-COVID. So there has been a definite growth. And more importantly and encouragingly, we have also added international points. So we used to operate to 5 points before. Now we sit at 11. And the remaining, the expansion has also been on long-haul routes like London, Frankfurt and Paris. So we have seen a good rebound. We have seen a positive, at least from the revenue perspective, we have been doing very positive performance for the last 4 to 5 months at least, and that we hope to continue in the winter month. When you look at the industry as a whole, I think we are still almost there. We are still not at the total pre-COVID capacity. As I'm sure you know, there are various challenges across the industry. One of course is the high cost of operations, with the fuel price being much higher than last year or even the year before. And also the US dollar, which again today the Indian rupee or the US dollar is appreciated with the interest rate hike from the US. And we now sit at almost 83 to the dollar. So that's a big challenge for all airlines operating in India. And of course, what has helped us is that, as I said, we have continued delivery of aircraft, unlike some of the other competition. So we are in a position where we are operating more flights than before, and I believe it's a positive space to be in.
You are the lead when it comes to wide body operations from India. Our Minister, Aviation Minister Sindhya, he has been emphasizing and pushing the Indian airlines to go for more point-to-point long haul and take up the wide body challenge and operating those aircraft. But the point is that wide bodies are a bit difficult beast in itself to operate. They are challenging. Not everybody can pull that off. So from Vistara's your operations, would you tell us in terms of your wide body operations, what is the strategy ahead in terms of the deliveries? Boeing is your manufacturing partner, the one delivering to it. How's those things panning out?
I think at the very high level, when you look at again what Minister has said, there is a lot of truth to it, because India is a huge market. India is an up and coming market. In fact, we just overtook the UK as the third biggest domestic airline, as domestic market, but there is a huge potential for international as well. And what has also intensified, especially because of COVID over the last 2 years, is people want to fly direct. They don't want to transit or stop in between. So that gives huge opportunity, and to a certain extent we were able to leverage on that. Thankfully, we had our first 787 delivered just before the pandemic in February 2020, and we had one more added later on. So we started flights to London, Frankfurt, Paris during the pandemic. And despite that, I think credit goes to the team, the operations team and everyone around, that the flights are doing very well. Therefore, we have now taken delivery of our third 787, which has just landed 2 days ago. We are preparing it for departure, and next week we will add more flights to Frankfurt and Paris with it. The response has been very positive. We are very happy with the results. Of course, the question really is in terms of delivery delays. Yes, we have seen some delays from Boeing because we know about the FAA certification that has restarted now, and therefore deliveries hopefully should start again. We have 4 more that need to be delivered. So we are in discussion with Boeing to see what happens. But on this point, we have, I must commend the team as well, because we went out to the market and we have now inducted an aircraft on lease, which is not a new aircraft, which was a used aircraft. But we have been able to secure it in the last few months, and now we are going to fly with it.
So give us a sense, going ahead in terms of the deliveries of Boeing for the remaining aircraft, 787. What is that time frame when you expect all of them join the fleet? And also in terms of, you talked about you have leased out because you have to address the capacity issue. So in terms of leasing of more aircraft, is it also something on the on the table going ahead?
The delivery dates are still being discussed. I think I hope that Boeing gives us a firm answer, because now deliveries have started. We have been in constant discussion with them. I think from their perspective as well, there is a long backlog, because there are other airlines as well who had placed orders before us. So we hope to hear something in the coming weeks. That's what we have been told. But in my own opinion, in the next 12 to 18 months, I should have capacity coming in. Definitely, if not all four, at least most of them hopefully are with us. That's my hope. And we will push Boeing for that. There are capacity available in the market, in the secondary market, as well as used or leased aircraft. We will explore that if it's needed, but of course we will need clarity from Boeing side on the deliveries before we take a call on that. But all options are open, and we've proved that we can take aircraft on lease as well.
Right, but leasing of aircraft is something that still remains on the table.
Yes, it does, but it will depend on what the timelines are for my own aircraft. So priority, of course, goes for our own aircraft at any time.
Right. Coming to the domestic operations, we have opened up. We are not yet close to the pre-COVID level, although we are, we do inching towards it. Tell us about your domestic operations in terms of expansion on those lines, and how do you go about it in terms of, even for the domestic, is there a capacity expansion that you are looking ahead?
Yeah. Right now, as I said, we have 53 aircraft in our fleet, including the wide bodies as we are talking about. It will go up to 54 with the third 787. But by the end of March 2023, which is in the next 5 to 6 months, by the winter season, I hope to hit a fleet of 60 aircraft. And of course, that will be used for international as well as domestic. So even through the times, we have added more destinations. We have added Coimbatore in May of 2022. Just in September, we added Jaipur, which is the latest destination that we have. Therefore, we connect 31 destinations currently with frequencies of about 220 to 230 flights a day. And that will continue. So by the end of winter schedule, right now, as I said, we do 250 flights a day. We will do about 270 to 280. So there will be expansion planned on domestic as well as international.
Right. But the domestic is also facing the challenges of high fuel prices, and the fares obviously are not what they were pre-pandemic. The fares are pretty high. Do you think that is sort of will act as an impediment for more sort of passenger coming on board to the air route, or are we going to see some sort of a, let's say, sort of bottoming out, where going ahead or increasing the number of passengers may face some issues?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, the winter months are definitely stronger, as has always been the case. This is the strongest quarter, where we said October to December. I think people still want to fly. People still want to move around. They understand that there is a reason why prices are going up, like we said, because of the cost of operations. And if you look at load factors of airlines, of course, Vistara is now number 2 in terms of load factors, but all airlines enjoy healthy load factors. And I don't think there is a cause for concern at this time yet. Of course, for next year and as we enter moving towards summer, we will have to look at it. But always fares and pricing have been a function of demand and supply. So we will have to see what capacity comes into the market. We'll have to see what the situation is in terms of operating climate. But I'm quite confident that we will not see any drop off, even though fares are higher than before.
I would like to come to your premium economy services. That's one service that you do pride on, giving to the passengers. Your predecessor, Leslie Thang, when before pre-pandemic, he talked about how Vistara's premium economy was getting traction. Would you give us a sense, tell us where the premium economy stands in Vistara services? Is the traction still there, and what is the future ahead for those sort of services?
The premium economy is a unique offering for us. As you said, we are the only airline operating premium economy in domestic space in India. We have always tried to move and push for premium economy. Actually, I would say that, again, as a silver lining, I would say, from the pandemic, people are more conscious. People want to travel in a little bit more comfort, and therefore premium economy subscription or load factor has actually improved over the last 2 years. So it has been working well for us. Of course, on the metro routes and on the routes that are very popular, like a Delhi-Bombay or a Delhi-Bangalore and so on, the subscription is much higher. But we are very happy with what we are seeing in terms of the occupancy of the premium economy, and we will continue with it.
Right. You are under the Tata Sons, that's your parent company. We do know the Tata Sons are now sort of the big brother out there in the airline industry with the acquisition of Air India. There is this whole integration, let's say bringing together all the airline assets of Tata Sons under one umbrella. Singapore Airlines, your another parent, have now sort of started this confidential negotiations with Tata Sons as to how Vistara's relationship with Air India or the engagement and all will pan out. Give us a sense, what are we going to see ahead in terms of that matrix going ahead?
That is a question for my shareholders. I will. I mean, as much as to be fair, I mean, I'm not the right person to comment on it. But as you rightly said, both the shareholders are in discussion, and we'll have to wait for directions from them.
Right. In terms of your expansion, you talked about the domestic as well as international. Give us a sense in terms of the the finances. I do understand it's been a difficult 2 years for the entire airline industry. The hit on revenues that he has taken, not mention the profits that it had to endure, the losses particularly. Where are we going to see in terms of Vistara's? Are you looking at some sort of horizon where you become profitable, and a sort of any revenue guidance if you could give us?
I think the sad but uncomfortable but the honest truth is that unfortunately for us, especially for airlines in India, a lot of the cost aspect is governed by external factors, like we spoke about, whether it's the fuel price or more importantly the US dollar versus the Indian rupee. Yeah. So as much as we can make projections, it is to a certain extent dependent on these external factors. So I'd rather not go into timelines. But what I can share very openly is that if you look at the publicly reported numbers in terms of the load factors, in terms of also our performance, like on-time performance, we are very happy with where we sit. Revenue-wise, in fact, we've been having record months for the last few months. So from the revenue perspective, we are very thankful for the experience that we've been having. But the cost is something that is outside our control. So we will have to wait and see what happens, especially on the cost front, although the revenue side seems kind of in a positive space. But the fact remains that now that we are the 20th best airline in the world, we are awarded multiple times as the best airline in India. That has helped us because of the customers gravitating towards us as well. Some kind of loyalty has been established. So we believe that's here to stay. And I hope that when the situation of operations gets a little bit more benign, we will definitely be able to come out of the woods.
Do you have any particular, let's say, year timeline when you think the whole turnaround would come about and the profits coming in?
No, as I said, it is not something that I would like to speculate on, because everyone who speculated or made some predictions were proved wrong just by 1 rupee move of the US dollar. So we will wait and see. I hope that the situation stabilizes. Just yesterday there was an increase in rates by the Fed. So we will have to see how that stabilizes. But the fact remains that that India is a big enough market, an important market with a lot of traction for a brand like Vistara, and we are very thankful for that.
Right. My last question going ahead, what is the one key opportunity and one key challenge that the aviation industry in India faces?
Well, with every challenge, I think, comes opportunities. Like I said, one of the big opportunities for us as Vistara has been the fact that people are moving towards a more brand-conscious choice. A brand like a Tata and Singapore Airlines, which is our lineage, of course, benefits from that. Plus the fact that people want to travel direct, point to point, which we touched on before. But of course, these external headwinds and challenges because of the global situation, the economy, the recession remains. And we will have to see how the next year pans out. But I'm very hopeful.
Okay. Thank you a lot for engaging us out here at ET Infra. For audience, that's all that we have for today. Stay tuned for our next interaction.